This is Cindy Best from Best Law Firm. This is a copy of the standard form that's required in Maricopa County to file a response to a petition for divorce or dissolution of a non-covenant marriage if you have children under the age of 18, minor children. And Ross is the petitioner, and this one is being filled out by Rachel, who is the respondent, his wife. Rachel wants to tell the court that she's filing and give the court her address and phone number. Number one, she tells the court that Ross is her husband. She tells the court, number two, where she lives and her address, which is important because this is where the court communicates with you. Information about your marriage. And all of these things were also in Ross's petition, and he also vowed to the court that they had, or one of both of them had lived in the state 90 days prior to the time of filing. And if that is not true for some reason, you would want to check number 4, but otherwise leave it blank, and the court has jurisdiction. Domestic violence, if there's been domestic violence, you need to check that box. And then 6 is very important. You'll have to list the names and ages of your children and their birth dates. You'll have to list number 7 if you're pregnant, and if not, you'll have to fill in the appropriate boxes. And then if there's anything different concerning your children than what your spouse asked for, this is the time to write it in number 8. So let's go to page 3. You don't have to tell the court specifically what kind of property division you want for community property, but you can if you would like. And under the next section, separate property, again, this is not required in order to get divorced at this point in time to file your answer, but you could put it in there as well. Community debt is any debt that you incurred during the marriage is presumed community. You could fill that out or leave it blank as well. Separate debts 10B, you do not have to fill that out in order to file your answer. Then we go into the summary of what you would like different from what your spouse in number 11. You could do that. Number 12, it covers taxes. You'll want to check that box if you agree with that. 13, if you want maintenance, spousal maintenance or payments made to you after the divorce, paid for by your husband to help you meet your reasonable needs, you would check that box. And then again, if you want something different, you could tell the court that as well. Other statements that you have to make to the court in order to have jurisdiction of the court is that your marriage is irretrievably broken and there's no reasonable prospect of reconciliation. And you would go down next to the child custody jurisdiction. If your child has lived in the state for more than 6 months, it's likely that Arizona has jurisdiction over your child. 17 is just a general denial in case there's anything else that you didn't specifically admit, it's denied. Number 18, if you have a written custody agreement, you'll want to tell your court about that and attach a copy of it. Eventually you'll need that in order to get your divorce if you have children. So under the next part is request to the court. This is what you'd like the court to actually order. You want the court to order that you're divorced, dissolve the marriage. You want the court to give you your last name back, your maiden name, under B. And you want to tell the court this is your custody and parenting time. There's a separate video on custody and parenting time schedules, but custody, if you agree with any of those paragraphs, you'll check those boxes. C2 is joint custody. That means that you will both have joint decision making and joint legal custody as long as there's no significant domestic violence in your marriage and you agree to that. Child support has to be followed by the guidelines. We have separate videos on the child support guidelines and how to determine that. And then who's going to pay for the expenses for the health care and who's going to pay for unreimbursed medical and health care expenses for the children. The taxes are also going to be determined here. There are certain rules and guidelines under the child support guidelines and statutes. Or you guys can make your own decisions of who gets to claim which child in which years. And under G, you're telling the court if you want maintenance, and if you do, how much and for how many months or years. You're telling the court to divide all community property fairly and evenly, and you'll want a property settlement agreement or some sort of written agreement about how that is to be divided fairly. Community debts, you will tell the court to order those to be paid equitably, and that if you have sole and separate debts, those are yours, and then any other orders that you would like. Now, the very end of this, you'll have to sign it and notarize, and this is just a general idea of how to file a responsive pleading without incurring the cost of an attorney. It does, however, cost $256 to file this document with the court, along with your sensitive data sheet and your ADR, which is your Alternative Dispute Resolution Statement. So please make sure you are aware of the fees that will be paid to the county when you file your answer. It's important that you file an answer or a responsive pleading so your case does not go into default. This is not specific legal advice, but this is just the general rules to follow in Maricopa County. If you have specific questions, you should call an experienced family law firm, such as the Best Law Firm, at 480-219-2433. Again, this is Cindy Best from Best Law Firm. Thank you.